My name is Neil, as most people know by now, unfortunately for them. And this is an interview with Anthony Avon. Did I say it correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, for Pixelsmithstudios. And we're going to talk a bit about his art journey, how he got to where he is today, and what are some of the things that have made a big influence in how he developed as an artist, but also that helped drive his decisions to do what he is doing now. And so, Anthony, just for curiosity's sake, if you had to describe what you do to someone who has absolutely no idea what art entails or how much hours goes into a piece of work, how would you explain your skill to them?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to do this with you. And the basic answer to what I do is I create mostly fantasy landscape art using Photoshop and a very simple process of picking the right color and painting. Uh, I don't use a lot of fancy techniques. And hours to create my art depend a lot on the subject and how polished I want the illustration to be. And usually I want it to be very polished. So it can take a while. But in recent days, or if we take the last month of June, for example, I managed to paint 12 paintings in June, which adds up to 2.5 days per painting.
That is fast.
Yeah, some of those paintings were done in a single day. Of course, when I do like 1 day commissions,
Mm.
we try to keep it simple to know exactly where we're going with illustration. Not a lot of pre-sketching and planning. We talk it out, make sure we're on the same page, and I just paint. Keep it a little bit loose, but
Mm.
1 day illustrations are possible. But I like to work on the ideas, so I keep it to 2 or 3 days. That's I'm comfortable with that. But again, if you want to create something really, really special, then sometimes it takes more time, and that's okay.
Uh, from what you just said, with the duration that paintings take, do you have a piece that comes to mind that has really made you feel that the time you spent on it was really worth it, and when you look back, you realize that you spent a significant amount of time on it, much more than you usually do on a piece?
Well, yeah. Last year I kind of switched my direction. I wanted to do just landscape illustrations. So before I stopped painting anything else, I took 2 commissions that featured characters, and I went all in on them. And it was pretty much the same with all my work back then. But especially in those 2 character illustrations, I just went in on like every blade of grass, every background detail that first, oh, it's in the background, it's in the mist, you don't need to go into details. And
Mm.
then I was like, let's go into details. Let's push this even further. And the results, now that I go back to see those illustrations, I see all that work. I'm so glad I did this because uh, I I know there are certain things that you can do really fast and it works, it looks nice, but I always enjoy that extra effort, extra polish, extra detailing.
Mm.
Because in some of those illustrations, a lot of other people, beside the clients, can recognize those details. And I love when people just come across my artwork and ask, "Oh, is that the detail from that in that place?" I know, yeah, good that you recognize it because that means I did a really good job at representing what it should be.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I've never regretted extra effort.
Mm.
There's I can talk about where just no, I put in the effort and it just didn't work. But now when I'm thinking about that one specific illustration that just didn't work for me, I'm like, I still want to go back to it and put in more work because it has to work. There's nothing fundamentally broken about that illustration. It just perhaps needs just a slight change in light or hues or something that's slightly bit off that now makes me think, oh, this illustration isn't good.
Mm.
But I'm pretty sure if I just kept working on it, eventually I'd be super happy with it, and then I would be very happy for that amount of effort if I finally made it. And good things I think require that level of work.
Yeah, it reminds me of a piece of advice I was given by a guy. It says where he said, "Never settle."
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah. I agree.
just never settle. Always see how much you can do better and how much more you can
Yeah.
push something, and then the attention to detail and the love for your craft then starts to show. So what you were describing now reminded me of that I was told, and it really does show. Um,
Well, sometimes we do have real world limitations. For example, I have to make money doing this,
mm,
and my clients have to have a realistic budget for this. So uh, I made sure to guarantee, hey, you pay me this amount of money for a day of work. Sometimes I have to guarantee, hey, one day, one painting, it will be done.
yeah,
And if that's what we agree on, I have to do that. And sadly, I cannot take every illustration to that absolute maximum limit. But where whenever I can, I try to do that. A lot of there's been hundreds of examples where I send the finished work and the client is perfectly happy, and I notice somewhere on the top left corner some little brush stroke that just looks ugly. I'm like, sorry, I didn't notice that before. Here's the correction. No extra charge. I just need it for the sake of art of it.
yeah,
I had to fix that because this art is supposed to mean something. I work on projects that are very uh, personal and meaningful to my clients.
mm,
So I owe it to them to get invested in what they're doing, and that means like really taking care of details within those reasonable limitations. If I can make something slightly bit better with an hour or two of extra work, I'll do that always.
yeah. No, I would do that as well. Do
Yeah.
it for some of my clients sometime. So then with the workflow you just described, I can imagine that sometimes it does get a little bit stressful. Other times, burnout does start to take on, and you can probably identify the early onsets of it. When you do realize you need a break, what's your best go-to breakaway that you like to do? Like when you need to unplug from your computer for a few minutes, you need to recharge, and you just need a little bit of privacy.
I'm the classic social media procrastinator. I guess I have like short attention span, so we have like a show on that I listen to, and then I'm like, oh, I need some music now. So I switch over to music, and I say, oh, what's happening on Twitter? Because and I always make excuses for it because I gave up on a lot of things that people have in their lives, like relationships and close friends they hang out with. So social media is my way to just experience the world, see what other people are doing, thinking about. I do discover interesting things, but in terms of just taking short breaks, I don't do that. I mostly push myself to the point where I'm now. Right now, my hands hurt so bad that I cannot even hold a pen. That's my sign that need a break now.
Mm.
And that's what I do. I don't do like 8 hours a day and then I do something for fun. No, I mostly work all day, and I cannot even say that's like a discipline. I'm That's just how I work. Like, for example, I love to build Lego and make my own stuff, and I love that for my entire life. And I have a box of Lego here, right behind the tablet, and it's been sitting there for a month. Even though it's super fun for me, I didn't even think to start playing with it because it's work time,
Mm.
and I um, just keep working. Sometimes I like to play Age of Empires 2. That a few years ago got a very amazing um, update or remaster
Mm.
because it's a very old game.
It's a
And that's
classic.
something that I can do. Yeah, that's something that I can do in like 2 hours of casual playing.
Mm.
And I feel like, okay, it's time to go back to work.
Yeah.
But most of my work habit is just work until I completely break, and then I to take some I don't know, maybe a few weeks when it's a full burnout, but I'm just completely done with work. It usually takes me 2 or 3 weeks to recover, sometimes even a month, but then I'm back to work. And again, so something just clicks in my brain, and all the fun I've been having with Lego and games, I just stop and go back to work. And that's been my cycle for years now. I kind of have those burnouts scheduled. Like on January 1st, my family makes a holiday out of New Year's. So starting January 1st every year, I'm done with work. That's my relaxing time. And then sometime in the spring, once again, because after the break, I keep working, and then like late spring, that's again time to
Mm.
take a break. And it's been consistent over the years. Like so certain memories that pop up on like on Facebook, what you've been posting last year. It's almost every time, same time of the year, same things were happening because I could just build this habit of working till I burn out and
Mm.
recover, burn out, recover, burn out.
It sounds quite a bit like you're managing it very well, though. Um,
It works for me. People advise me to, rest more during the day. And I'm like, well, I just cannot focus on relaxing because I like my work. I like the challenge of it, especially when it's challenging where the painting it's never easy. I always struggle. But I'm like, how can I just leave this now when I have a problem to solve? I cannot focus on relaxing. I cannot stop working. It just works for me. It sounds like I'm sometimes, well, too harsh on myself, but with this job, freelance illustration, I kind of am free to just live the life that works for me, and it looks like this works for me. I don't know.
you've tried
We're
it.
all different in that way. Yeah,
Yeah, you've tried it, you've tested it, and it's your rhythm.
yeah. I really have all the time in the world to just make my own rules. All of my clients are very generous when it comes to deadlines. Nobody is ever pressuring me to do a certain thing at a certain time. So with all that freedom, this is I guess what works for me. And uh, this isn't something that I would say, oh, you have to do this to make it. Or I think this is just how my brain works. And I almost cannot do it any other way. Even
Mm.
if the other way is easier and more comfortable and more fun and more enjoyable, I just cannot do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I think that that's some very important thing to do. Just find what works for you, what makes you most productive. It might sometimes seem crazy to other people around you, but yeah, it works for me. And I wish everyone had the same kind of freedom that I do have to just live your best life.
Yeah, that's a utopia right there. We could
Yeah.
all, if we could live that like we wanted to, it would be great. Some of us are
That's one of the
almost there. Some of us.
one of the great privileges of my life, not having to wake up to alarm clock. That's something that I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I remember you saying when I messaged you the one day, it's like your sleep schedule doesn't revolve around a set time. So
Well, my sleep schedule, that's a whole. I always push myself to make myself feel like my day has been productive.
yeah.
So, and then I try to, okay, I've been productive. Now I get to rest.
Mm.
So I sleep. I never oversleep, but I always feel like I should be sleeping more because it's just wasted time. But I always keep pushing the bedtime, for like an hour, half an hour, and goes into cycles. And
Yeah.
again, uh, I don't know how much people like just general nature and um, just their surroundings. You're missing out if you don't experience the sunrise and the silence of the night and the clear starlit sky. I really enjoy that, and you know, uh, living at night isn't so bad. So I'm happy to experience that because a lot of people who spend, you know, working for how many decades on the same work schedule, they just miss out on really simple but beautiful things. So
Yeah.
once again, I'm very grateful that I have that freedom to experience every time of day.
Yeah.
That's nice too.
I
People say it's not healthy, but I'm like, well, maybe you should always go to sleep at the same time, but you're missing out on beautiful things.
yeah. No, I agree with you there. It's like when it comes to the December period when I can take my leave from work, then it's like my sleep schedule switches. I end up sleeping mostly during the day, and then I'm awake at night. So then I see the sunrises, the sunsets, and all that stuff, and it's really cool because I've got a mountain not that far from me that I can look at, and I can see the sunrise and sunset on the mountain. It's very
Yeah,
amazing.
that
Um,
must be beautiful.
yeah, so and the mountain's also flat. It's like we've got Table Mountain here in South Africa, and it looks like a table. so, so that's also pretty cool. Um, so from oh, something is scratching on my side. Do you hear a scratch noise on your side, like a hiss scratching?
No, sounds good to me.
Okay, no, it's definitely on my side then. Oh, now it's gone. That was weird.
Yeah,
It,
like we discussed before, the show started, the
yeah,
technical issues that just appear and then disappear,
yeah,
seemingly no reason.
I I'm holding this the volume control for my headset up in the air, but it's got absolutely nothing to do with my microphone because I'm using a different microphone. I'm not using my headset's microphone, but holding this audio volume control in the air like I'm trying to keep it next to my head is making that hiss go away. Anyway, so with what you just described of how your cycle works and how you enjoy your work and stuff. Have you ever found that during your journey that you've reached a point where your whole creative juice, your whole motivation to do art has just dropped? And how did you overcome that?
Yes. So back in 2012, I got my first job at a studio, and I was super motivated. Like that's where I started like working my work hours and then going home and painting my own stuff just to try to learn as much as I can as fast as possible. I met artists that immediately influenced me. I wanted to paint exactly like they do, so I tried to replicate their style, which was super hard because they were very experienced and really good artists, and I was technically just starting out. And at a certain point, I remember that there's some old illustrations from that period that were very ambitious and almost too good for me at the time. Uh, I shouldn't have been that good that early on, but then horrible, shamefully bad illustrations started to appear because I was just so crushed by my work environment and completely unrealistic expectations that were placed on me, which I didn't meet. And I constantly felt bad about my work, even though I was doing my best. And there is a period, I think that's in 2015 or 14, something around there. They're just so horrible. And I, the way I overcame that, it had to have been a mix of factors. At a certain point, the environment on the job changed for the better. It was more realistic for me to do my job, and as soon as I started doing a good job there, that made me feel better, and that's where I started doing more studies. And mostly the solution was to just keep working. Um, and I guess the whole thing with me feeling bad and feeling like I'm failing at my work was kind of the outside factor, which if you're feeling like that, maybe that is an outside factor. Maybe it has nothing to do with you. And I spend a lot of time analyzing stuff like that. And looking back at it, yeah, it was all about just my work environment that was too unrealistically difficult. It wasn't a challenge, it was just impossible to do. And the other time, that's maybe an interesting story, something that uh, people can relate to. I quit my job at the studio in 2016 and started doing freelance work. And I doubled my income. I just kept meeting these amazing clients that were just super generous with me and kind, and some of them became my friends. And everything was going super well, but I kept getting like panic attacks, feeling terrible every morning. Would wake up like it's my last day on earth. Like, okay, this is the day where it all ends. I was feeling super depressed and couldn't figure out why. And it apparently got so bad that I had to go to therapy. And I've spent like 4 hours with the therapist before we figured out what's wrong, and the problem never came back. And the solution was very simple. That's something that maybe a friend could help me figure out. You just needed to hear the right word. So back at my old job, I had all these goals and ambitions and plans. I wanted to either advance, uh, get a promotion, or if I don't get a promotion, maybe I want to quit and become a freelancer. So there was a lot of stuff that I was working towards, and it felt like I was taking steps towards that. But when I started working just as a freelance artist and everything was going super well, the only goal I had left was to become a great artist, which is very abstract in a sense. But for me, I knew what that means. But I also knew that it was very, very far away in the future. It's possible, but it will take time. I cannot achieve it in a year. And everything that I was working on felt like a very small step. I couldn't see the progress towards that very, very distant and hard to reach goal. So every time I struggled with something and every time I did a good job, whatever I did, it felt like I'm not doing anything.
Mm.
And that put a lot of pressure on me. And as soon as it took me 4 hours of talking with a therapist to figure out, okay, I'm going to start aiming for a certain number of illustrations a year, or just set a goal that I can reach quickly and that I can see the progress on. And I never again felt depressed or bad about my work since then. Now, for example, here's what I did in June. I wanted to do a series of illustrations, each illustration featuring only one color. So one illustration will be mostly red, one mostly orange, mostly yellow, and so on. And that was a goal that I set, and I could see the progress every time. I sketch out a new color, I see the progress. I finish one of those illustrations, I see the progress.
Mm.
And the goal is to make 7 illustrations, and you constantly see the progress. And it all adds up to one day me becoming a great artist.
Mm.
But now I can actually see the steps. I can see something that I achieved. I set a goal, achieved it, happy about it.
Mm.
There's nothing to be depressed about.
Yeah.
And if I'm feeling like, oh, I'm struggling, how do I solve that now? Well, I keep working. I put in more hours. Look up, try to find solutions if I get stuck. I set realistic goals, and if they come with challenges, it's easier to solve a simpler goal than that huge ambitious become a great artist, whatever that means.
Mm.
Even though I know what it means, it was just too difficult to see the progress towards that one thing. And that's maybe somebody listening to this can relate to feeling that bad about work. And maybe that's good advice. Set a realistic goal and follow the steps towards it, and you'll feel better seeing all that progress day to day. If you see that you made a step towards your goal every day, there's nothing to feel bad about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or earlier this year, I did 100 days of studies. So my goal was to do one study every day. So every day you make a new step towards your goal, and you know that helps you achieve better, higher goals. So I think getting that discipline into your workflow can just help you get better and feel better.
Yeah, it's you're reminding me of advice I was actually given as well, also by a therapist. But if you had to take the concept of setting an unrealistic expectation on yourself, you'll never reach it. And if you hold yourself accountable to meet an expectation that you cannot meet, you're going to make yourself feel like you're not achieving anything. But then coming
Yeah.
to what you said now, set a realistic goal, something that can be accomplished, and meet that goal, then you'll see the results and you'll realize that you're actually better than you're giving yourself credit for.
Uh, right now, like instead of worrying about, me one day becoming famous or whatever, just almost on a daily basis, I uh get to produce something for myself that people will enjoy, or I'll get nice feedback from my team that I'm working with. Every day is an achievement,
Mm.
and there's nothing to feel bad about. And yes, I do feel bad about, art is hard. It's difficult. You sometimes just, even though you painted a certain thing 100 times, sometimes like I, I feel like I've never painted this. Why is it so hard? When will it finally be easy?
Mm.
So you struggle with that, but again, it helps that through all that struggle, you do see a step forward, and that keeps you going because that even after those 100 days of studies, like I cannot paint as well as the artist that I studied. I'm
Mm.
still not there. It feels like I'm not even close to being there after putting in so much specific, undeniable efforts to achieve that. I'm like, sure, yeah, I maybe that wasn't enough to reach that goal, but I certainly made a huge step.
Mm.
Just means that I have to do that 100 days of studies next year, next year, next year, and I'll finally get there because it will eventually add up
Mm. Mm.
to progress. And sometimes progress is hard to see in art, but after those studies, I've been consistent in delivering very fast and quality results.
Yeah.
Might not be the quality that I'm aiming for in general in terms of my whole art career. I still want to be so much better,
Mm-hmm.
but I am faster. No clients complain about my work. No feedback is like, oh, you completely missed what I was going for. You have to change everything.
Yeah.
So it's like minimum and expected feedback to just find what the client is exactly looking for.
Mm.
But yeah, uh, I've made those steps and it feels like I'm achieving something. And even when I feel bad, I can still rely on all that good positive feedback to be like, okay, it's difficult now, but just the only way to solve it is to keep working, keep working, keep working, and
Mm.
eventually, hopefully, hopefully, one day it will be easy to sit down and produce a piece of art. Hopefully.
I doubt that. I mean, I haven't seen any art piece being produced easily, unless you
I gotta,
regard. Hmm?
I gotta believe that at the somewhere there's a point where it's easy to do this. It's like, wait, I hope so.
When you know, please let me know.
I feel like I've always struggled the same. Like I'm struggling now like I did like 7 years ago, but the results are better. The
Yeah.
amount of struggle and stress is the same, but at least the results are better. So there's that at least.
Well, that counts. That counts.
Yeah.
It.
Yeah.
Although with what we've just been discussing about the studies and you being able to do stuff that you enjoy, and also having found your creative passion again, um, during all of that, when you do your own work, what would you say is your most favorite way of finding inspiration, of fueling your ideas?
I feel like I never struggle with motivation. Um, Yeah, there's always like I always have something that if I have free time, there's that this new idea for the project or some old idea I never got around to doing. So like browsing through art that I like that sparks an idea maybe, but in terms of just not being inspired or motivated, I'm never there. Can I help with any advice there? Just always have an idea of what to do. Or I'm just, if I don't have a specific idea, the worst state that I'm in is like, at least I just want to paint something. I don't know what, but I want to paint. So I just start, doing some loose sketches, lines that are completely random and nonsensical. And at a certain point, something clicks like this is the next illustration that I want to work on, and it happens. So in terms of finding motivation, I never lack any. So
Yeah. I think
um,
the key component there that you mentioned is just start. You just
yeah,
start and then you just carry on.
yeah, you'll find an idea if you want to paint right now, you'll find an idea.
Mm.
It has to happen. There's so much out there. Uh, I, I don't know. Just go on ArtStation. Go to your likes. I use likes
Mm.
as like saving references and something that was oh wow, this is inspiring.
Mm.
Then you go through and like, oh yeah, 2 years ago I wanted to paint a dragon, but I never got around to it. Oh, I'm painting the dragon right now, and
I,
you just need to want to work on something, and you'll figure it out.
I
For
can
sure.
I can definitely get behind that idea. I'm gonna steal that and try it for myself, and then I'll have to remember to credit you. And if I don't, I'm gonna have to ask you to remind me to credit you for that. But so now that we're getting into a bit more of a light-hearted side of the conversation, what has been one of the things that you enjoyed the most about your creative journey so far?
I do enjoy the journey itself. I've thought of, if I could just magically get there, get to the goal, become amazing at creating art, I wouldn't take that option. I like the process of learning and struggling and seeing that my, you know, last month's illustrations are different and is in a way better than what they were before.
Mm.
There's been so many moments worth remembering and talking about where it was just, meeting people. I've been so lucky with my clients. Like, uh, if I wanted to do like a shout out to somebody, I don't know where I would start, and it would just be unfair to leave anybody out because everyone was so generous, so kind, so just amazingly wonderful to me, and I'm so grateful for every one of those opportunities. I never take it for granted that people see my work and my terrible sketches when we start working. And they're like, I trust you that this mess will become a wonderful illustration at the end. I never take that for granted that
Mm.
I get to be so happy and fulfilled
Mm.
because somebody just takes their money and gives it to me to create art. That's just every day I wake up and how did I get to be so lucky? Because there were bad portions of my life where all that I'm living through now
Mm.
was absolutely impossible. No way that it would ever happen.
Mm.
And it happened. And I just enjoy everything about it. But yeah, there's the last year I got a dream job to paint for Lego. and paint for the Lego that I collect. So a dream job within a dream job.
Eh, why not?
Absolutely amazing. Again, I thought like when I started focusing on landscape art, but yeah, that could work for Lego background illustrations on the boxes. That's kind of what I do. So it would be nice to get there. I've been a fan since I was 1 years old. So, but I didn't even know how to apply for that job
Mm.
because I did send out my resume, but I never, you know, got a reply. And one day I just got offered that job. Like, well, and that's been amazing. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. There's just so many specific moments that are like
yeah, it's
life-changingly wonderful, but it all adds up to me
mm,
being really happy and grateful for what I do.
yeah, it's like a build-up of things that eventually you use those things that build up as like a staircase, and then you just keep climbing the staircase up the tower until you reach the point where you're like, okay, cool. Now I can see how much I've accomplished when you look down, and then you see you've built this whole village or city when all this time you've just been trudging on and working and doing your best, and you're happy because you achieved a lot. But yeah, on this creative journey of yours, we all need fuel, we all need food, and we all need coffee and tea and stuff. So, um, what's your favorite food to eat? If you had to choose a food that you could eat endlessly, like you wouldn't have to worry, it wouldn't even be a second guess. You know that if someone asked you, what are you having for supper? You would say, this is my supper.
Right now, while I'm in Canada, I'm doing that with Echoes, uh, because I don't have that at home. So like, hey, everyday Echoes because I get 3 months of that, and then it's back to normal food. Um, but my mom makes. I guess people around the world know that as crepes. I call it pancakes because it's made in a pan. Um, you make the pancakes or the crepes, and then you bake it with sweet cheese. Now
That's
that would be my, you know, deserted island food. My that would be my last meal. I get that instead of cake for my birthday and any other special occasion. So that's my all-time favorite. I
that
don't know if there's like a specific name for it. It must be very obscure for a lot of people, but it's so good, especially when my mom makes it. It's
I,
out of this world.
I can see how that has a good flavor to it. I like
It
good food.
definitely does.
So,
Definitely does.
I mean, one of my favorite pizzas is rocket, blue cheese, and fig on a pizza. Like, it doesn't really go well together for most people when they look at it, but it's one of my favorite combos on a pizza, and it just works. You got the punginess and the bitter taste of the cheese that gets balanced out with the sweetness of the fig, and I don't know, but
Uh, I'm a food enjoyer. I don't restrict myself enjoying anything because like I'm still struggling, and when the painting is giving me headaches, I'm like, I'm not gonna go on a diet. Are you crazy? I'm not gonna deprive myself of food. Like no amount of chocolate or any kind of treats. Like at least I get to enjoy that.
yeah, yeah,
I would I would like to stop eating meat because I believe in that. Just find it very difficult to avoid
Mm,
because when you try to, for example, when you try to eat just healthy,
mm,
you quickly find out that there's nothing like that.
yeah,
Unless you're eating only raw fruits and vegetables, everything has way too much sugar, even though it's advertised as diet food.
yeah,
So it's kind of difficult to control. But again, like uh, I cannot have this. I cannot work 15 hours a day and then be super motivated to stay on a diet and give up certain foods. Like, no, I just have to get all the food that I want. So,
if
um,
if that's what you want to eat, eat it. I fully agree with that. Yeah, I'm one of those people where I tried going meat free. Like I really tried. I didn't eat meat for about 4 months, and I just started feeling worse and worse and worse until I had a steak, and then it was just okay. So I can't not eat meat. So, which is why I'm very much in favor of the lab grown meat that they're busy
oh yeah,
developing.
absolutely.
So, I'm very much in
I
favor
don't
of that.
even know if it's available back in my country. Probably not. But as soon as that is more widely available, absolutely, I would
Yeah, I would.
switch to that.
Yeah, I would switch without even thinking because
Yeah.
I do very much agree with some of the logic behind not eating meat, and I also,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to the carbon footprint with the amount of land and the amount of resources needed to produce the meat we eat. So it will help in the long run if we can eat. And I agree with that. It will help. But
Yeah. Well, like I have no disagreements with vegetarians and vegans.
mm,
It's just that I completely everything they say about how food is produced and the abuses of animals at least back in my country that is oh, there's a lot of uh, villages where animals are free to you know
mm,
live out on the open. At least there you can avoid like factory farming. You can get your food from more decent sources.
yeah,
So at least there's that.
mm,
Um, I think I get most of my eggs from my grandma's house. She has a lot of chickens, and they run around the yard. They go out to the garden where they have like a lot of grass to eat, and it's all healthy foods that they receive. So like there's no uh, abuse or anything bad with me eating that egg.
yeah, yeah,
But like factory farmed eggs and chicken meat, like that's horrible, and I would try to avoid that as much as possible as long as I have a choice.
yeah.
So
You
yeah.
also pick it up in the texture and the flavor of the food. Um, the food I've had, especially when it comes to eggs, like the environment you described now for the chickens with their free roaming and stuff, the eggs are higher quality than the battery chickens. So there's also the factor to consider that the meat you eat or the eggs you get from animals that have been treated better is of a better substance. And it's just, yeah, the sometimes the food we get here in South Africa from the factory lines and stuff, it's just bland. Like
Mm.
like there's nothing in it you can. But yeah, um so yeah, we deviated quite a bit there now. Oh well, now we discussed about food. So although there's quite a few shows and stuff that I've definitely seen about food and that as well that has been quite informative. But so mentioning shows and TV shows and stuff now, what would you say is a TV series that you could binge watch? You would sit down and you could watch it through all the seasons in one sitting?
It has to be The Office. Um, I, I, I like when I run into people that they're like, "Oh, I've seen The Office 8 times," and I chuckle and laugh. So it's like, you know nothing. I've seen. I think I went through The Office at least 100 times because my ex-girlfriend loved it too. So, and that's an awesome show to just have in the background. I like background noise because
Mm.
when you work all day, every day, it's really nice to have something that is humorous and lighthearted, and there's voices coming to you, so you don't feel alone. And that show is awesome. So like has that a lot of realism to it.
Mm.
So you feel like you're in the office working. That's how I really miss the office environment. So that show was a replacement for years, and it's something that just goes on repeat. So yeah, I've seen that show a lot of times.
So if you could be any character in The Office, who would you be and why?
I, I guess I relate to Dwight Schrute because he's very devoted to his work, and he really loves that job, and so do I. So, and he's like he is ambitious as I am, but he's weird. That's why he couldn't get the promotion for many years. And I'm just childish. And I don't think people see me as what is traditionally known as a team leader. But I kind of secretly know that I'm a good team leader because I feel like I have a good philosophy for it. But I'll probably never be seen like that. I feel that there's a certain way people see me
Mm.
that just doesn't say, "Oh, this guy should be in charge."
Mm. Mm.
And I don't know. Someday somebody will give me that authority, and we'll see. And I yeah, relate to bite a lot. Or just I would be the cool artsy guy who does the job on the side, but doodles. I guess Pam was like that. She was the secretary, but she liked to draw on the job. And
Yeah.
remember, before I started job as art as a career wasn't even possible for me for the longest time. I specifically avoided going to art school and getting any education in art because I never saw a way to make that into a career in my country. So when I was, working on summer jobs, I was just always helping out at a beach bar. Uh, just regular, hey, see that heavy thing over there, bring it here. That was my job, but I tried to do the best job I could at that. I would be the first one to get to the bar in the morning, clean everything up, make sure everything looks good before the bartenders and waiters come to work. And I was just went all in on that job. And when there was some free time, I would have my notebook and I would draw.
Mm.
Because I thought like I thought that I needed to do the regular work for my entire life, and then if I get good at art on my own, I might make something out of it. But this career was never a realistic possibility for me until it became that
Mm.
through a lot of luck um, that I had. And then when I finally got the opportunity, I was like, okay, now I have to just go all in on this to make it work because I cannot
Mm.
drop this opportunity. I have to make it work. I have to succeed in this because obviously this is what I'm meant, to do.
Mm.
It's hard to imagine myself doing anything else. Like especially that it isn't related to creative stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a drummer, so if I'm not an artist, I would want a career in music. That's kind of creative. I recently discovered people making. I play with Lego. I like to build my own models, so that's creative. But I recently discovered people who make miniature models out of just garbage they find around, and they make amazing stuff out of it. So wow, that would be an amazing career. I like to play with sound editing on amateur recordings of me playing or from the concerts. I like to make the sound better. So that's something that I would be interested in.
Mm.
It always evolves. I guess, is there a job where you take care of cats and dogs and they love you and you love them back? Is that a career? Because that I would do that. If I wasn't an artist, I would do that.
I think there's some
Just
places that have a cat cafe, and then
I
basically,
miss the one here in Ottawa.
so
It was super cute. I miss my cat and my dogs, so I went to the cat cafe and it's so awesome.
yeah,
I would run a cat cafe, and there would be a lot of cats, and I would take care of them. That would be an awesome career for
I,
me too.
I would be there almost every day. I've got 6 cats, so
Coffees on the house for the true fans of the cats.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I've got I think 4 long hair black cats, and then 1 short hair black cat with 1 eye, and a tabby. And yeah, they love attention, they love laps, they love cuddles. So if you ever get to meet them, you're gonna be sitting with a cat on your lap within 10 minutes.
That would be awesome. Like my current living situation doesn't allow me to have as many cats as I would like to, and my one cat wouldn't allow me to. She's very antisocial. Somehow she got used to the dog. Somehow,
uh, uh,
they're very weird together. They're not super friendly. He's a very playful dog, but she's very grumpy. So they have this weird ritual where she's eating, and he comes up to her and lies down next to the food bowl, and she lets him sit there and watch her eat. And then when she's done eating, she runs away, and then he picks up whatever is left. Then she gets angry because he's eating out of her bowl, so she chases him away, and that's a daily ritual for them. But maybe uh, now that I'm not back home, maybe they'll uh, have more time to get used to each other. My mom sends me photos of them inching closer and closer together. But yeah, she's one of the reasons why I cannot bring a lot of cats home. But as soon as my living situation changes, no less than 7 cats. That's probably how I'm gonna do it.
yeah, why not?
And
I mean, I
3 dogs,
yeah.
3, 4 dogs. I don't know. Yesterday I met like a cute little dog. It looks like a toy. It's so small, but so cuddly and playful. And I'm like,
Was it
I gotta have more of this in my life.
was it
It's
maybe
just
a toy
beautiful.
pom?
I don't know what you call that dog, but it's unrealistically small and looks so cute, and it's like a living toy. It's amazing. Like I gotta have a lot of that. Like big dogs, just tiny small dogs, cats, all kinds of cats, birds. Uh, I really like animals, and here in Canada, no.
Yeah.
Like bunnies and squirrels. Every time I see a squirrel, it's an event for me. Like, oh my god, it's a squirrel! And I throw out food so that carrots and nuts and stuff like that, so they can pick it up.
Yeah.
And it's so cute. Like seeing a bunny, in the yard as someone just before we
Or
started talking. It's a cute little bunny. He's eating something, and he lets it. He lets you come close so you can take a photo, and
Yeah.
then runs away.
Oh,
And
baby bunnies are
I,
cute.
I still didn't have a chance to actually do that, but now I'm on a short break from work. So starting tomorrow, I'll be going. There's short bike ride to reach like it's not a something between a forest and a park
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
And last time, and hopefully now, you can put some bird food in your hand and put your hand up, and the bird will land on your hand and eat.
That
Super
is
amazing. I did
decent.
that last time I was here, and it's like you feel like a Disney princess. And like I gotta experience that, and I'll bug my family to take me. There's a few hours away from Ottawa.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a park where it's called Park Omega. Um, you drive to the park to different sections, and deer and buffaloes and wild goats they come up to the car and you can feed them.
That
And
sounds
it's
fun.
like absolutely like you get a huge moose or something like poke its head through the window of your car and it eats out of your hand. It's beautiful.
I'm getting on a plane right now.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
So
that's I need to get to Canada. Let's quickly see how much flights cost.
it's beautiful.
But
Um,
yeah, we've been talking for a while now. I'm gonna ask you two more questions to wrap up the interview call, and then I'll be sure to send you the recording as well, so you can have it on your side if there's anything you want to use for your social media and stuff like that, maybe outtakes or anything like that.
awesome.
And the first question is, what from what we've discussed now, you've got quite a bit of discipline when you apply yourself to your work. Um, from your viewpoint, what would you say is the most important soft skill that an artist has to develop outside of just creating art to help carry them through their journey as they grow?
So it's a difficult thing to answer. I would say, um, like, I always like to give specific advice to specific people, but in general, I found that it's really good to, um, like we discussed, set a specific goal, figure out exactly what you want to do,
Mm,
adopt just the habit and interest and you enjoy from studying, like doing a study or um, you know again depending on people are doing studies like the ones that I do are maybe not actually what they need to do, but the learning part, not just hey do the work,
mm,
do something that is specifically to learn.
mm.
Practice, oh I made a practice illustration or I'm doing a lot of work, isn't the same as sitting down and studying.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of way more successful people than I am say the same thing. Studying and doing are not the same thing. Study.
Mm,
Find it if you feel stuck or like you're on a plateau and everything you're doing looks the same, you're not making progress. That every time I felt like that, started focusing only on studying. Um, again, it's good to have study friendly approach to work, like me pushing myself to not just do whatever looks good and works and is good enough, but pushing yourself to just as far as you can.
mm-hmm.
that certainly helps bring better results and add up to your skills. And just doing work, I guess, should be something that helps you learn and get better. But finding joy in actually studying, it worked for me. I think that's been. I know that I've struggled with that, being stuck. Sometimes you just have to work. When we're discussing this as a career, money, that's a realistic issue for everybody. Um, Maybe for a long time I was just forced to just work because I needed a lot of time to produce the quality work. So it didn't leave much time and energy to study. And now this year, I finally, managed to save up some money so that out of those 100 days of doing studies, sometimes the studies were the only thing that I'm doing that day because I was free to, you know,
Mm.
delay some of the work. That's not possible for everyone. It wasn't possible for me. But if you can take the time to just study, people say, and I find that to be true. It's very important. So I guess that would be.
Mm.
Uh, is that considered a? Is that a soft skill? How would you define a soft skill?
Uh, the way I separate the two normally, like you said, studying that falls under soft skill because you're developing your craft. It's not something you do on a daily basis to generate money. So that's what I would call a hard skill. Like for example, animation, illustration, where you produce a final product that you can resell or that you deliver to a client. So when you apply your skills, this is how I always think of it. When you apply your skill or your craft to create a product that you give to a client, that's your hard skill. Your soft skills come in afterwards with when you talk to your colleagues or when you write an email or, like you said, when you upskill. So, sorry, just waiting for the haze to go away. There we go, it's gone. Uh, yeah, uh, it's gone. It, it's like this scratching is back, but
Well, sounds good to me. So,
yeah, it's weird. My microphone just doesn't like me. I'm gonna test my other microphone sometime soon. Um, but yeah, I would say soft skill is the skills that support your main set of work skills that you apply. So it would be how you communicate with a client or a colleague, how how you carry yourself, or how you upskill yourself to do better, and how you always do the things around the main things that you try to accomplish, and then eventually it all comes together into one collective of skills.
I guess communication is very important. I found that um, when you're working like I am, freelance for what are in almost all cases very personal projects to people. If it's just a one-time commission or a
Mm.
project, if it's not a company, it's probably like a small team like I'm working with now. They're very passionate about what they're working on and they really care about the project.
Mm.
And they don't really need to keep you or deal with you. So one thing that I found that I just have to do is even when it feels like everything is all right, I do ask for feedback a lot of time on just oh how's this working out? Are
Mm.
you happy with me? And just recently, I had a situation where I did ask for feedback, and I did receive them feedback that my boss was not happy with something that I've said. And I'm glad I asked before because I I didn't mean anything bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that in this work, you're communicating through messages,
Yeah.
written text. Either you were nervous, or the other person was nervous, or just had something going on, and something that's just a normal text,
Mm.
an answer to a question, can read as something that's bad.
Yeah.
And keeping that in mind and working on yourself and trying to always be the best that you can be, to always give a good argument for your ideas, because again, this is a creative field. You have your ideas,
Mm.
your client has ideas, those ideas can clash. It's the conflict is almost expected. And thinking about your approach and always second guessing what you said, how you said it, asking for like I'm glad I asked for feedback because it cleared a lot of things up.
Mm.
Because I wouldn't be fired, or it wouldn't lead to like anything bad, perhaps, but sometimes it can be.
Mm.
So something that, well, I feel like my first studio job was dysfunctional in so many ways, but I'm so glad that I went through that because I got to learn how people in a large team work. I got to experience a conflict and then dig into that conflict and figure out it has nothing to do with me. It doesn't have anything to do with the person I was in conflict with.
Mm.
It was just a whole series of factors that made this person nervous and very in a bad mood. And that's why our communication broke down, even though we all did our work.
Mm.
And thinking about that kind of stuff, thinking about your personality, um, your position, I guess, uh, mine is always I want to do what the client wants,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to do it 100%. I need my client to get exactly what they're looking for or something better. Never a compromise. No client should ever be like, yeah, it looks good, but it's not exactly what I wanted. One client was like, said that they're happy with illustration, but they'll will not use it for what they want
Mm-hmm.
first. But like, I can use this for something else. It's like, no. You already sent money to my PayPal for this work for this purpose. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
keep working until it's that. If you want something, if you want to use this version or that other thing, sure, use it. But I was paid to do a certain thing for a certain purpose, and that has to be done
Yeah.
no matter what. And just, I feel like I found that to be an important skill. Um, if everyone was honest with me, they feel like they like have to compromise. I have a track record of 100% happy clients, and I hear there are some artists who don't approach work like that. Don't want to get into negativity, but I'm just saying how I do things.
Yeah.
No compromise, trying to be the best that I can be, to
Mm.
communicate, to ask for feedback, um, find the ways to solve what are, you know,
Mm. That I don't.
in the creative field, you almost expect that conflict, so you need to be
Yeah.
open to resolving it in the best
Mm.
possible way. And when you have that base approach of this has to be positive, this has to work out, usually does.
Mm.
It's really hard to just completely break down the line of communication if you're set on just being positive.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I don't think you're being negative. You mentioned a very good point there. Some instances you have individuals who do go into a situation and it does turn out quite negative, and then you have instances where you have individuals who take pride in their reputation because they want the clients to become returning clients. So it's not negative, it's just stating what happens in real life, because there is, as much as there is of the one, there is of the other. So I think it's a very valid point you raised. I wouldn't be too concerned there. But the one thing that you did raise, which I like and I agree with, is that you were happy that you asked for the feedback, because with written text and email and instant messaging, because it's a screen that you're looking at, that you're reading, you don't see the other person's body language, you don't hear their tone of voice, so it's very easy to misinterpret what you are reading.
yeah,
So,
how, how you know a certain word written can be read in so many ways depending on your current mood, what's going on around you. If you read, you can just misread something
mm,
and completely change the meaning and the tone. And this work is, there's a lot of communication. You cannot just paint well, you have to communicate well.
mm,
And I have no reason to expect a lot of people struggle with that. But there's something to keep in mind, that this is something that you can always improve upon. You can always be so much nicer when talking to people,
mm,
and so much more understanding. And that because you are dealing with people, people are different, and I, I get. I spent you know time learning about people as much as I spent time learning on how to do better art.
yeah,
And I know that I can be a better person, and I am a better person this year than I was last year. And I feel like it's hard to separate those two. I feel like a lot of I don't paint to express myself. Like I'm sad, so I paint to express that. That's
mm,
not how. This is how people do that. I don't do that, but the the fact that I would go back to change a single pixel if it's wrong.
mm,
If it's bothering me, I will go and fix that and resend the file to the client and stuff like that. That's directly coming out of my personality, because I have that like OCD approach to a lot of other stuff that I'm doing in life. So a lot of me is expressed in my work.
mm,
My personality, direct things I care about, and my approach and philosophy to life really does influence what my art looks like. So I don't know. I would just say, yeah,
mm.
maybe you can be a better artist just through being a better you. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow,
It's maybe worth considering.
that's pretty solid actually. And here comes my tabby cat now. Damn it, now I don't have my camera up to show you. um, but thanks for that one. That was actually a quite solid answer. I'm taking quite a bit from that for myself. And then now just for the last question, and this is the one we end off with. If we want to go find you online and we want to follow your work, where can we look you up?
ArtStation, Anthony Avon. Support there really does mean a lot. Success on that website led to me getting a dream job because art directors are looking through your portfolios, and a chance encounter might lead to something good. So liking and commenting on my work really does help. And I'm active on Twitter at Anthony Avon Art. Um, yeah, I try to communicate with everyone when I have nothing to show, old or new. I try to promote other people. I try to make a community around my work. So those two platforms are mean a lot to me. I do have a Patreon, um, and you know I do produce a lot of content there. Um, but if you have $1 to spare a month, um, it means a lot. It really adds up. But I feel weird asking for money, so consider that I do have it. But just following me and being interested in my work already is a huge source of daily inspiration for me, and I try to give back as much as possible. So that would be an answer to that question.
Yeah, I just went and followed your art station now.
Thanks so much. And I do follow back. If you're a content creator and you're interested in what I do, I have to see what you're working on, and just give at least that equal amount of support back. Um, my Twitter has been growing quite fast, so I don't cannot just keep up seeing who's following me. If they're an artist, Twitter is more open to a lot of people, so non-artists do follow me. But again, I make posts saying that people who are artists, they can post their art so I can see it and follow back and try to support, and friendship is a it goes both ways. I try to give everything that I receive, give it back. So um, yeah.
uh, that's pretty cool. I think I actually found you through Twitter, but also Discord. One of the one of the servers I'm on is also one of the space. I'm not sure if it was that was Cactus's server.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw you there so you chatting there a bit, and then followed you online on Twitter when I asked on the server for recommendations of people to follow, and then Cactus recommended your profile, so I went and followed, and then I started stalking you on Twitter, and then now that my time is freed up again in my personal capacity, I can start doing interviews again with artists for the platform that I'm interviewing you for now. So I was like,
And
okay,
Cactus
I
is
need
an
to.
amazing artist and a huge supporter of mine. So a shout out to them.
Cactus is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'd love to interview her one day for my personal podcast, but
to do that.
I'll first have to see how the rest of this year is going to play out, because at this moment it looks like I'm either really busy or I have like a week or two at a whim's notice to just quickly sit and schedule a few things to do for myself, and then it just picks up again. And so this year is very much like a roller coaster ride, but I would like to interview quite a few people who I'm connected to on Discord.
Yeah, time management. Like, I have so many plans for so many different things. I found that when I did my 100 days of studies, that kind of built that habit of doing something daily.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm putting that energy towards daily exercise.
Mm.
Even if it's just a little bit, make it daily, never skip a day.
Yeah.
Because that day of rest, quotes, that day will get you. That will break all the habits. Even if it, like, just do one push-up,
Yeah,
but do
yeah.
it one every day. Don't skip. You don't need a rest day. That's nonsense. Do something tiny every day. And now that my work is clearing up, I want to finally start learning Blender because I need 3D. I want to make more complex environments. So I want to like set up interesting architecture and stuff like that. So I want to start just every day, turn on Blender and make a shape, whatever shape, triangle,
Mm,
whatever, and put two triangles together, learn how to do that, at least one lesson daily,
mm.
and hopefully it will soon build up to enough skill to just, set up certain things in 3D. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm gonna quickly send you a link on Udemy for the course I'm learning. It's called the Blender 2.8 Encyclopedia. But the stuff that they teach on there is still relevant even though Blender is now at like version 3.2. This course is what I'm busy learning at the moment to learn Blender. They didn't sponsor me, I promise. It's just I found this to be quite cool because they make the course like an encyclopedia. So if you want to learn about different faces tools, they have a section just for faces. If you want to learn about vertices, they have a section just for vertices. How to split them, how to rip them, how to do all those things. So that I would recommend that course. But yeah,
thank you for that. I'll look into it. I cannot wait to actually start learning and see where that takes my art.
it's
I've been using Google SketchUp for just basic setups,
mm-hmm.
uh, but I don't use it often. So like when you don't use a certain software, often you kind of forget. So if
Mm.
I've done certain things that I've probably completely forgotten and would have to look up again how to do.
Yeah.
But hopefully, if I take this do something everyday energy and apply it to 3D, I hope that I'll build up enough skills so that I can always rely on it
Uh,
and make bigger, more complex illustrations.
I think it's definitely
So,
gonna benefit. Um, I'm learning Blender for motion design purposes, but the fundamentals of how I've learned the fundamentals are transferable. But yeah, thank you for your time and for putting up with our erratic schedule for our electricity.
it's completely okay. I'm mostly free now. We can do this anytime. If there's something more that I can uh, share with you, I would love to. Thank you so much for inviting me. It really means to get some more acknowledgement, to know that people care about what I have to say and what I'm doing. Really
Yeah,
goes a long way to keep me going even when it's difficult, and it often is. So thank you so much.
your art is great, and I really loved our conversation and our chat now. You dropped some wisdom bombs that I never expected to hear, so I've got a bit of decompressing to go do and processing of the advice that you've given. Uh, yeah, you've actually, in the bit that we've chatted now, you've actually given a lot of advice that would go out to the general public, but for me, that advice is so relevant right now that it's like, what? How come you calling me out like this?
I just try to, like I said, I owe a lot to people, doing very small and kind things. I didn't even get to the story of how I got to do this work, which is, uh, I think it's inspirational, but maybe in part two, I'll tell that story.
Well,
But I owe a lot to very kind and generous people who did
I,
very small things that changed my life completely in ways I never thought possible. So
well,
anytime I can give that back, if people shouldn't be afraid to approach me if they have any questions.
yeah,
Well, if enough questions come in often enough, I'll maybe start, making my own tutorials or something,
mm,
talking about that stuff. But right now, I'm not famous enough to be overcrowded with questions. So
yeah,
anytime I can answer and help, I will absolutely.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we can't end off on that cliffhanger. And I'm actually quite curious myself now as well. Um, how did you find your way into the art career and start working as an artist, freelancing, and where you are now?
Okay, so the story goes all the way back when I was 20 years old. My family was, I think it's fair to describe it as poor in a country where there are no uh, options, at least for art. Art was never even a, an option that I could pursue. There was nothing, I never thought like, if I go to art school and I'm good at art, what now? What do I do? Nothing. It was never even an option. And uh, in my early 20s, life just became hopelessly bad and depressing, and it didn't feel like anything didn't, there was nothing that I could do to change that situation. But if I found a job, it wouldn't pay enough so that I can accomplish anything other than maybe eat, and
Mm,
that's it. There's no, it felt like there's no option, no hope, no way to do anything to make my situation better. Nothing to look forward to, no way out.
mm,
And you can imagine that just felt horrible
yeah.
until I ran into a random post on Facebook, somebody saying, "Hey, don't worry about the money, just live your life." And that got to me at that time when I couldn't afford even the basics. I didn't have electricity in my apartment officially. I had a few outlets that did still have electricity, but we couldn't pay for it.
Mm,
We were living in an old building where wires got crossed, so when the power was out, I could still have some electricity, but it was really that bad.
mm,
And I replied to that Facebook post. I wasn't like angry and offended. I just said, hey, this philosophy makes no sense. If you don't have money, if you cannot pay for even the basics, the pressure of that, uh, you know, you just, you cannot say stuff like that. Money matters.
mm,
The person who wrote that didn't reply, but they told me later that that's when they, started paying attention to me. This woman, her name is Dawn, very symbolically named.
mm,
Um, she offered, she lives in Germany. She offered to buy me some art supplies. She noticed that I was posting like my old, very bad, nothing impressive, nothing special drawings on that I was posting on Facebook. And she was like, "Hey, would you like me to send you some art supplies?" I'm like, "No, there's no point in going through all that trouble. Uh, I, this is a hobby. I sometimes I can afford a pencil
mm,
and paper. That's all I need. No need for you to bother because it has no point."
mm,
And she kept insisting, and I'm like, "Okay, this is crazy, but look, if I'm ever going to make something out of art, I need to start digital art." And there's no way that I can afford even the cheapest tablet. If you can, and if I can get that as a gift, there was nobody else that I could ask for that, or nobody was offering.
mm,
If I can get a tablet, even the smallest one, I can start doing digital work and maybe something will happen. I got that gift from Dawn. A year later, I had a job. And as soon as I got the tablet, I didn't stop painting. That's immediately started working 20 hours straight, going to sleep for a few hours, then waking up to keep painting. Uh, I just kept as soon as I got that chance, I started working. Like a year later, I had my first job. Again, with some luck to find, somebody recommended me. They knew the owner of the company that
Mm-mm.
hired me. I was making $200 a month, which is just as bad as it sounds, but it put food on the table. It got me going, and I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm gonna make the best out of it. I kept working 15 hours a day every day. Um, and here I am today because somebody made a post on Facebook and I left a comment that got me noticed, and I got a gift that I think it was $70 or something like that. It wasn't even $100. That changed my life completely. I'm here, possibly generally alive, because I got less than $100 gift, and that's amazing. Uh, Analyzing what my life was and where it was going, I really think I wouldn't be alive if
Mm.
I didn't get that single gift, because it was really bad. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be negative about it. I like to focus on the positive of things
I.
happening as they did. But if they didn't happen,
Mm.
I only see horrible things
No,
because the situation was just that hopeless
I
and
know.
terrible.
If it's any
But here I am.
consolation, I know exactly what you're describing. I was in a very similar situation growing up, so I can understand also how I can relate and understand to how you're saying that it was a small gift that changed everything, and you just took it and you started running with it, and you haven't stopped running with it, and you just kept on building, and now you are where you are because you took a chance, and it was just.
Literally everything I have now is because of that gift. I see no, in that situation, taking out $50 out of my family's,
Mm,
budget for a long shot for me to start painting. Like, that would never happen. There will
no.
never be a situation where I can afford to
Mm,
take that chance
yeah,
unless that chance was given to me from the outside,
yeah.
someone to be like, yeah, you're a total stranger, but you're worth helping.
Mm, no, I
And then,
completely understand.
like, to I know you wanted to, ask that question, like, being at the right place at the right time. For example, later, uh, I was already working as an artist, happy, trying to pursue this career, and I posted some sketches on a Facebook group for artists to share their work. And I posted the sketches, and a completely random stranger asked me to see full resolution versions of those thumbnails.
Yeah,
He wanted to see, like, really how I do things, even though they were very loose and not really good at the time. And I was like, wow, somebody wants to see more.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
sure, here you go. And then his name is Tyler. Tyler told me, like, he asked for that. Um, he asked to see. He asked other artists to see their sketches, and I was the only one who wanted to show.
mm,
And I'm like, I didn't think that that was something special that I did at all. I still don't. It was just
mm,
me sending full resolution sketches to somebody who wanted to see them. Then we became friends, and he told me, "Hey, there's this site called Fur Affinity. You might get some work there." And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" I opened up a profile on Fur Affinity, started posting there. For the next couple of years, like 90% of my work came from there. Met a new friend, Carrie, who I talk to like every day now since like 2017. We never met in real life,
mm.
but we talk every day. We just became friends. He brought who knows how many people to me because he is from the fandom that I like Warcraft and he likes Warcraft, so I done commissions for him and he introduced me to other people. Like these small, like there's a bit of luck in meeting right people, but also just being nice changed my life and pushed me into the direction of just amazing things that happened. So like 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 I said, I owe a lot to a lot of nice people who in very simple ways completely changed my life. That's why when you ask me a question and ask for help, that's what you get to the best of my ability. And so never be afraid. I know that I was always afraid of like approaching these big famous artists and asking them for any help or advice. I'm not big or famous, but if anybody feels like they're afraid to ask, they shouldn't be. So yeah.
I'm happy that I asked you to tell your story.
I tried to make it short, but I don't want to leave anybody out from that story because it's really important. It means a lot to me. Like my life goal is to be able to provide help like that to other people. To be like, hey, can I change your life, please? Anything that I can do, I will, because I know the worth of it. Just so little can mean so much. It's incredible.
Especially,
I think that's the answer to like what's your life purpose. Like you can do something like one piece of advice that costs you nothing. You can just change a person's life.
Yeah,
it's amazing. What more would you want?
Yeah, that is especially true for when an artist is developing and they need someone to just tell them the right things. Sometimes those right things are, you're doing good, keep on going, keep pushing.
Even if it's not advice, you should just be supportive. I try to never forget how much I struggled, what I went through, so that I can always relate to people who are, and don't even like to use words like bad at art, because nobody's bad at art. They just started working on art, and it's not as good as it can be. It's never bad. And I know how much people can struggle, and whenever I can, just give a little bit more support, visibility to people who are just trying to make it. Of course, I want to do that because I know how much it meant to me. I know when I needed it but didn't get it, that how hard it was, and how good it felt when, just first time my tweet broke 1,000 likes. And I was like, how did this happen? How did 1,000 people like what I do?
Yeah,
it's incredible. And, I know how like people. Oh, these numbers don't mean. People with large numbers often say these numbers don't mean anything. They mean, absolutely. They mean. You meet people, you feel like what you do matters. Artists put a lot of themselves into their work, and then when it's accepted, yeah, of course it means a lot to you.
Yeah, and especially when you're still going, when you're starting out and stuff as well, getting 15 likes or getting just 5 likes even, it's a little serotonin boost.
Yeah. And like I really still try to be like every one of those. I want to feel every new follower. I try to take a second to acknowledge that a new person just saw my work and decided they want to see more. And that's always amazing. I cannot let myself forget how amazing that is. These numbers are really abstract.
Yeah.
And if you find meaning in them, you can really make it, really positive. If you keep that approach of gratitude towards all of it.
Yeah.
Because it does mean a lot. It can change your life for the better, and you can do the same. Once I get to a certain number and goal, I'll be able to just push that energy and that interest in art towards other people who were all. If you're creating something, it's worth seeing. And if you're anything like me, if you want to just have certain high goals to achieve, it's not about just following people who are already good. It's about seeing somebody on their journey. Like if I can be somebody's first follower and then 10 years later be like, hey, you were my first follower, look where I am now. And like, I know where you are now, I've been following. And I've seen people grow, and I'm so glad that I was on that journey with them, to see them when they were basically copying other artists and trying to be, oh, this is what I did. It's like, no, that's not what you did. You just directly copied it. I know exactly which artwork you were looking at and painted that. That's not really cool. Try to just say it's a study if you want to do that. And then that artist accepted that criticism and advice.
Yeah.
And I kept following them, and now they're amazing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I was there when they were just starting out, just falling into that trap of, oh, this is cool now. I want to do literally exact same thing. That's maybe not the best thing to do, but you can make it positive. You can learn through that approach. Just call it a study. Just call it, hey, I studied this artwork from this artist, and it's so cool. And if you do that, that's the best way to learn. And then they did, and now they're amazing. And like, I'm glad that I was on that journey with them and followed and be like, whoa, this person is learning quite quickly. I maybe should step up my learning game because they're catching up. They're really good.
Yeah. The next thing you know, it's like they call you. It's like, hey, I'm an art lead on this project. Do you want to be part of the team?
Maybe that can happen. You never know. I'll definitely if I'm an art lead on some project, I'm calling them because they're amazing. Like I know how fast they're learning. I know how obviously motivated they are. So like of course, and it's not a famous artist that this is a trendy popular person. No, it's somebody just starting out. But I at the start it was obvious that this person wants to be really good and really wants to work hard and achieve something. They did. So positivity.
It goes a long way, eh? It actually does go a long way. And it's gratitude, especially. I agree with that. That practicing positivity and gratitude over the last 6 months or so I'm seeing results now that I didn't think I would have seen it back then. So it helps, especially for you to feel better.
But sometimes I have tradition of just sitting down in my room, looking all the shelves in my Lego collection that was impossible, absolutely impossible a few years back. And back when I was a kid, especially, it was like Lego was my favorite toy and absolutely unaffordable to me, absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
And now my whole room is filled with my favorite Lego sets. And I have to just sit down and be thankful. Be happy about it. be fulfilled with it because, you're going to travel. This is just something I spend money on. It's just materialism. No, no, no. This is meaningful. This is a symbol of my life changing, me accomplishing something that was absolutely impossible
Yeah.
years back. So you sit down and appreciate that. You feel better. Keep going. Feel like, okay, if I keep, this is what I achieved with this amount of work. If I keep going, a few years down the line, I'll have even more to be thankful for and more and happy about and
Yeah.
appreciate more. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's my philosophy. I can keep going with it, but I don't want to
I
keep you
think
anymore.
no, I
You have
think
to
I'm
go.
gonna do exactly that when we end this call now because your story. That's my shepherd. Uh, I've got 4 dogs, by the way. 2 mastiffs, a German Shepherd, and a Border Collie. That one that just barked was a German Shepherd. Um, yeah, your story resonates quite a bit with me because I come from a very similar background, and I'll tell you that another day when we get into conversations and stuff. Because I would really love to stay in contact with you after this interview and still keep chatting to you and stuff. Uh,
Awesome.
but yeah, for now, thank you for your time and for coming on this interview. Thank you for
Totally.
making it a meaningful 2 hour interview. So I do believe that when people listen back to this, when they put on this interview, that they're going to really enjoy what you have to say because I really enjoyed listening to what you have to say. And I thought,
Also, sorry, English is not my first language, so if it's difficult to listen to me, I'm really sorry. But I try to.
it's not my first language either. My first language is Afrikaans. So